China's overseas basing ambitions really have the potential to alter the balance of power in the world through lots of on-the-ground and logistics issues. And so people really are watching very, very carefully. China set up its first overseas military base in Djibouti on the Horn of Africa in 2017 because it feels that as a rising power, the second largest economy in the world, it has overseas interests to protect. When the spokespersons in China, the foreign ministry, for example, are asked about this, they tend to deflect or deny that the People's Liberation Army is interested in overseas basing. But the fact that they began in Djibouti with sort of low-key economic moves and that then moved into a logistics facility and is now absolutely a full-blown military base with thousands of Chinese Marines on the ground and hardened bunker facilities makes it very clear that there is at least the intention building of having an overseas presence. Having overseas military bases for the People's Liberation Army is important for them because this way they can have a military presence and protect overseas economic interests, but also have a profile and power projection that makes life easier for China overseas, if you like. In the South Pacific, there's a very interesting example of Solomon Islands, where there's a strong relationship between Solomon Islands and China. And in April, signed a security agreement, which the contents of which have never been published. In there, it gives the People's Liberation Army Navy the right to, under certain circumstances, to dock in Solomon Islands, also to import some military equipment. And on-the-ground reports say that there are now Chinese police patrolling in Solomon Islands, in the capital, and there's been political unrest there, which is linked to China's presence. So what we see with China is a different way of building a base, if you like. It starts small, it's incremental. It starts perhaps with an investment zone and then adds a logistics facility, and then it adds a security deal. This is a very typical step-by-step way of building a base, which is very different from how the US did it all those years ago after World War II. China wasn't really around as a player. It had a civil war going on. It was weak. The US just set up bases from the get-go, from scratch, as military bases. Now, China's a new arrival, can't do that. So it's coming up with some very innovative and usually hidden methods of extending its own overseas military capability, possibly through bases as well. Outside of the South Pacific, in fact, the issue of China and military bases overseas is a global issue. China's really building up a potential basing presence in most continents. The US is watching especially carefully, of course, because it feels quite challenged by China at this point. The Department of Defense recently issued a report predicting that the next overseas base will be at Ream in Cambodia. Another possibility is Gwadar in Pakistan. And a think tank called RAND also issued a report predicting the four most likely candidates will be also in Cambodia, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, and in Myanmar. We're talking here about the balance of international power. Why that's extremely important is, of course, that the international order as we have it, which is anchored in the United Nations, is expressed in things like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, all kinds of treaties, courts, accepted ways of behavior, diplomatic norms. If China is trying to shift that arrangement, change that balance through military presence, through calling for a different system of international governance, which it is, because China has its own vision, which is something called the common destiny of humankind. It's very vague. Then we all have a kind of a challenge, if you like, facing us going ahead into the future, because what is the world going to look like?